The hegemony fleet reacted with panic and confusion. Ships that had been casually orbiting the station suddenly found themselves facing a predator beyond their worst nightmares. The Worldbreaker hung in space like a dark angel of death, its weapons arrays glowing with barely contained power. Commander Haywan's voice echoed through the ship's corridors as she coordinated the attack.
All weapon systems online.
Target the command ships first. Show them what happens when you threaten Earth. The Worldbreaker's secondary batteries opened fire. Gravitic pulse cannons sent invisible waves of crushing force through space, collapsing enemy vessels into twisted metal. Ships that had terrorized 100 worlds were reduced to scrap in seconds. Admiral Keithvar commanded the hegemony's finest dreadnought. His ship had conquered star systems and burned rebellious worlds. Now it faced something completely outside his experience. All ships concentrate fire on the human vessel, he ordered desperately. Bring everything we have to bear. Energy beams and plasma torpedoes lanced through space toward the Worldbreaker. The alien weapons were powerful enough to shatter mountains and boil oceans. They struck the human ship's shields and simply vanished, absorbed by defensive systems built from principles the hegemony had never imagined. Direct hit. No effect, reported his weapons officer in disbelief. Their shields are absorbing everything we throw at them. Impossible. Nothing can withstand a full fleet bombardment. Sir, they are targeting us specifically. The Worldbreaker's main gun swiveled toward Admiral Keithvar's flagship. The quantum cascade projectors had been designed to crack planets, but they worked just as well on ships. 3 beams converged on the dreadnought's hull. The great warship lasted exactly 1.7 seconds before it imploded into a singularity that winked out of existence. On Nexus Prime Station, the alien leadership watched their invincible fleet being systematically destroyed. High Chancellor Mordak stood frozen in shock as ship after ship vanished from the tactical display. "How is this possible?" he whispered. "We are the masters of the galaxy. We have ruled for 10,000 years. Captain Hyunwoo looked at him with cold eyes. You ruled because no one could fight back. Today that changes. Engineer Jiho activated the next phase of his plan. The quantum charges placed throughout the station began their work, not exploding but creating tiny rifts in space-time that spread like cancer through the structure. Sections of the mighty station simply collapsed into themselves, taking thousands of alien leaders with them. Colonel Dong Hyun's Marines had seized the communication center, the power plant, and the docking bays. Alien security forces tried to retake these positions but found themselves facing warriors who fought with precision and technology that made their own weapons look like clubs and stones. Human Marines have taken level 7, reported an alien officer. Our troops cannot dislodge them. Their weapons cut through our armor like it is made of paper. How many humans are there? Demanded the station commander. Perhaps 50, sir. 50? We have 5,000 security troops on this station. Yes, sir. They are not performing well against the humans. Dr. So Young had taken control of the science laboratories with the help of 3 Marines. The alien scientists cowered behind their equipment as she accessed their computer systems and began downloading everything humanity needed to know about hegemony technology and conquered. Worlds, please, begged Dr. Vexani. We were only following orders. We meant no harm to your species. No harm? Dr. So Young looked at her with disgust. You planned to enslave my entire planet. You talked about murdering our leaders like you were planning a lunch menu. But that is just standard integration protocol. Every species goes through the same process. It is for the greater good of galactic civilization. Your civilization ends today. Lieutenant Boram had complete control of the station's communication systems. Her broadcasts were reaching every world in hegemony space, carrying the same message to 200 conquered planets. People of the galaxy, this is Lieutenant Boram of the Earth vessel Worldbreaker. The hegemony fleet at Nexus Prime is being destroyed as I speak. Your oppressors are not invincible. Resistance is possible. Freedom is possible. Rise up and take back your worlds. The response was immediate. On planet after planet, subjugated peoples who had lived under alien rule for generations suddenly saw hope. Rebellions erupted across the galaxy as the news spread that someone had finally stood up to the mighty hegemony and won. Back in space, the battle was becoming a massacre. The Worldbreaker moved through the alien fleet like a shark among minnows. Its antimatter torpedoes turned cruisers into expanding clouds of plasma. Its quantum disruptors shredded carrier groups with surgical precision. Commander Haywan watched the tactical display with grim satisfaction. Enemy fleet strength down to 40% and falling. They are trying to retreat, but our targeting systems are faster than their engines. No survivors escape, Captain Hyun-woo ordered. The galaxy needs to know what happens when you threaten humanity. The aliens had one last desperate card to play. Deep in the station's core, emergency protocols activated the backup stellar devastator. If they were going to die, they would take the human ship with them. Sir, Lieutenant Boram called out. They are charging a secondary planet killer. Target appears to be us. Can they penetrate our shields? Engineer Jiho checked his readings. Not likely, but if they overload their reactor, the explosion might damage us. Then we do not give them the chance to fire. The World Breaker's main quantum cascade cannon swiveled toward the station. The weapon that had been designed to shatter worlds focused its full power on the backup superweapon. The beam struck just as the alien weapon was reaching full charge. The interaction between quantum forces and exotic matter created a chain reaction that tore through 15 levels of the station. The backup stellar devastator vanished in a sphere of pure annihilation that took half the station with it. High Chancellor Mordak found himself standing in a corridor that now opened directly onto space. Only emergency force fields kept the atmosphere from rushing out into the void. Around him, his empire was literally falling apart. This cannot be happening, he said to no one in particular. We are the hegemony. We are eternal. Captain Hyun-woo appeared behind him, having fought his way through the chaos with a squad of Marines. The alien leader turned to face him, and for the first time in his long life, Mordak felt genuine fear. Your empire is finished, Hyun-woo said simply. The question now is whether you want to surrender and live under human justice, or die with your dreams of galactic domination. Human justice? Mordak laughed bitterly. You think you can rule the galaxy? You are just one ship against billions of worlds. Look around you. Hyun-woo gestured at the burning wreckage that had once been Nexus Prime. This was just one ship. How many do you think Earth built? As if summoned by his words, new contacts appeared on the surviving scanners. Ships emerged from hyperspace around the system's edge. Dozens of them, each one as deadly as the World Breaker. The Earth fleet had arrived to finish what one ship had started. Admiral Taemin's voice came through the communication system, broadcast to every surviving hegemony vessel and station. This is Admiral Taemin of the Earth Defense Force. The hegemony's reign of terror is over. Surrender now and you will be treated according to human law. Continue to resist and share the fate of your leaders. High Chancellor Mordak stared at the fleet display in complete despair. 50 human warships faced the scattered remnants of his once mighty armada. It was not even a contest. You expected a shuttle, Captain Hyun-woo said quietly. Instead, you got an entire fleet of machines built for total annihilation. The age of hegemony rule is over. The age of human liberation has begun. Around Nexus Prime, the last alien warships powered down their weapons and activated surrender beacons. 200 worlds held their breath as news of the impossible victory spread across the galaxy. The humans had done what no species thought possible. They had faced the mighty hegemony and won. The galaxy would never be the same. But for Captain Hyun-woo and his crew, the hardest work was just beginning. Winning the war was only the first step. Now they had to build a peace that would ensure no species would ever again face the choice between slavery and annihilation. The machine of total annihilation had served its purpose. Now it was time to become something more. The demonstration was scheduled for midday. High Chancellor Mordak had chosen the perfect target. A dead world on the edge of the system, far enough away to be safe but close enough for spectacular viewing. The entire hegemony leadership gathered on the observation deck to watch their newest subjects learn the price of resistance. Captain Hyun-woo stood beside the Chancellor, his face carefully arranged to show nervous anticipation. Around them, alien dignitaries chatted excitedly about the coming display. They spoke of previous demonstrations and the wonderful effect they had on stubborn species. You seem troubled, Captain, Mordak observed. Please do not worry. The demonstration will be quite safe for us. The weapon is very precise. I was just thinking about home, Hyun-woo replied quietly. About my family on Earth. Ah, natural sentiment, the Chancellor said with false kindness. You will see them again soon. Once Earth formally joins the hegemony, we will arrange for family reunification programs. Your loved ones will be assigned to appropriate work centers. Hyun-woo nodded silently. thinking about his wife and children back on Earth. They would never live as slaves. Not while he still breathed. Dr. So-young stood with a group of alien scientists, listening to them explain the physics of planetary destruction with academic detachment. They discussed core ignition temperatures and chain reaction dynamics like they were talking about the weather. The process is quite elegant, Dr. Vexani explained. The quantum resonance beam destabilizes the planetary core, causing a runaway fusion reaction. Within hours, the entire world becomes a small star. Fascinating, Dr. So-young murmured, making notes in her tablet. What she was actually recording were the weapon's technical specifications and targeting systems. Information that would be very useful when the time came to destroy it. Engineer Jiho had been given a special tour of the Stellar Devastator's power systems. The alien engineers were proud to show off their greatest achievement to the primitive human. They explained every detail, never suspecting that Jiho understood their technology better than they did. The main power coupling is here, the chief engineer said, pointing to a massive crystal array. It channels energy from our fusion reactors to the primary emitter. Jiho nodded enthusiastically while calculating exactly where to place the charges that would turn their superweapon into a massive bomb. The aliens had built their ultimate weapon with a fatal flaw. They had never faced an enemy who could match their technology. Lieutenant Boram monitored communications from her position in the command center. The aliens had invited her to observe their coordination procedures, thinking she might learn something useful for humanity's primitive systems. Instead, she was mapping their entire command structure and identifying key vulnerabilities. Targeting sequence initiated, announced the weapons officer. Primary beam focusing on planetary core. All ships move to safe distance, ordered the fleet commander. Demonstration will commence in 10 minutes. Boram smiled as she recorded the commands. Soon, those same communication channels would carry very different orders. Colonel Dong-hyun and his Marines were positioned throughout the station, still playing their roles as simple security guards. They stood at attention while alien troops prepared for the demonstration, looking like primitive soldiers trying to copy their betters. None of the aliens noticed the small devices they carried, or the way they had positioned themselves near critical systems. Marines are in position, Dong-hyun reported quietly through his hidden communicator. Ready for your signal, Captain. In the observation lounge, the countdown reached its final moments. High Chancellor Mordak raised his hand for attention, preparing to deliver a speech about hegemony, power, and human submission. My dear friends from Earth, he began. What you are about to witness represents thousands of years of technological advancement. This is the power that protects and guides our galactic civilization. Soon your world will benefit from this same protection. Captain Hyunwoo looked appropriately awed. We are honored to witness such power. Indeed. And now behold the might of the hegemony. The Stellar Devastator fired. The beam was invisible until it struck the planet's surface, then the world began to glow. Deep beneath the crust, fusion reactions started in the core. Within minutes, the planet was burning from the inside out. Within an hour, it would be a new star. The aliens cheered and applauded. Some of them looked at the human delegation with satisfaction, pleased to see the appropriate fear and submission on their faces. But Captain Hyunwoo was not looking at the dying planet. He was looking at Admiral Taemin's final authorization, which had just appeared on his hidden display. Earth had given its answer to the hegemony's generous offer. Now you understand, High Chancellor Mordak said smugly. Resistance is futile. Your primitive weapons could never challenge such power. You are absolutely right, Captain Hyunwoo replied. Our primitive weapons could never challenge your power. Something in his tone made the Chancellor look at him more carefully. The human's expression had changed. The fear and awe were gone, replaced by something cold and determined. However, Hyunwoo continued, you made one critical error in your calculations. What error? Mordak demanded. You assumed our weapons were primitive. Captain Hyunwoo touched a control on his sleeve. Light years away, the world breaker received its activation signal. The mining ship began to change. Hull plates that had seemed welded in place suddenly retracted. False bulkheads slid away to reveal weapon arrays that dwarfed anything in the hegemony arsenal. The crude fusion drive reconfigured itself into a quantum cascade reactor, capable of powering weapons that could crack moons. On the alien sensors, the harmless mining vessel simply vanished, replaced by something that registered as a threat beyond their comprehension. Emergency alarms began screaming throughout the fleet as ships that had been casually surrounding the humans suddenly found themselves staring at death incarnate. Impossible, High Chancellor Mordock whispered. Your technology, your scans showed you exactly what we wanted you to see, Captain Hyunwoo replied calmly. You scanned for primitive weapons and found them. You never thought to look for advanced ones. Throughout the station, Engineer Jiho activated his quantum charges. Colonel Donghyun's Marines dropped their disguises and began seizing control points. Lieutenant Boram started jamming alien communications while simultaneously broadcasting on all frequencies. Attention, Hegemony Fleet, she announced. You are now facing the Earth vessel Worldbreaker. You have 30 seconds to stand down before we demonstrate the price of threatening humanity. High Chancellor Mordock stared at the transformed ship in horror. This is impossible. We are the most advanced civilization in the galaxy. No one can match our technology. You were the most advanced civilization, Dr. So Young corrected him. Past tense. The Worldbreaker's primary weapon began to charge. The quantum cascade cannon was designed for one purpose: absolute annihilation. Its target was the Stellar Devastator, the symbol of hegemony power. You wanted to show us your ultimate weapon, Captain Hyunwoo said quietly. Now let us show you ours. The quantum cascade beam fired. The Stellar Devastator didn't explode. It didn't burn or break apart. It simply ceased to exist, consumed by an expanding sphere of nothingness that unraveled matter at the subatomic level. The most powerful weapon in hegemony history vanished as if it had never been built. In the sudden silence that followed, High Chancellor Mordock finally understood what had happened. The humans had not come seeking membership in the hegemony, they had come to destroy it. You expected a shuttle, Captain Hyunwoo said softly. Instead, Earth sent you a machine of total annihilation. The first phase of humanity's response was complete. Now the real battle would begin. The grand tour of Nexus Prime was carefully designed to overwhelm and impress the human visitors. High Chancellor Mordock personally guided them through corridors lined with crystal displays showing the glory of the hegemony. Each exhibit told the story of another world that had joined their empire. This is Kethera Prime, Mordock explained, gesturing to a holographic display. A beautiful ocean world. Its people were quite resistant at first, but they came to appreciate the benefits of hegemony membership. Dr. So Young studied the images carefully. The ocean world looked pristine, but the data showed its population had dropped by 60% after joining the hegemony. She kept her expression neutral and nodded appreciatively. How wonderful that you could help them, she said in her most innocent voice. Captain Hyunwoo walked beside the Chancellor, asking simple questions about alien technology. He acted amazed by everything he saw, like a child visiting a museum for the first time. Meanwhile, his trained eye cataloged defensive systems, troop movements, and structural weak points. Behind them, Engineer Jiho carried a simple tool bag and wore maintenance coveralls. To the aliens, he looked like a humble technician brought along to service the human ship. They paid no attention as he occasionally stopped to examine power conduits and support structures, placing tiny devices in hidden locations. Your ship's fusion drive is quite impressive for a first attempt, one alien engineer told Jiho condescendingly. Perhaps we can show you some improvements. That would be amazing, Jiho replied with fake excitement. We have so much to learn from you. The alien smiled smugly and continued explaining basic concepts that humanity had mastered decades ago. Jiho nodded eagerly while mentally calculating how many quantum charges it would take to collapse this entire section of the station. Colonel Donghyun and his Marines were scattered throughout the delegation, dressed as security guards and technical assistants. They moved quietly through the station, memorizing layouts and identifying strategic targets. The aliens saw them as primitive bodyguards with simple weapons, not realizing each Marine carried enough hidden firepower to level a city block. Sir, one alien guard said to Colonel Donghyun, your weapon is quite unusual. Is that chemical propulsion? Donghyun showed the alien his sidearm, which appeared to be a simple projectile weapon. Yes, very basic. We are still learning. The alien laughed and showed off his own energy weapon. This can cut through a meter of steel. Much more advanced than your primitive guns. Incredible, Donghyun said with wide eyes. Inside he smiled. His primitive weapon could punch holes through the alien's energy shield and armor, like they were made of paper. Dr. So Young was having her own conversations with alien scientists and diplomats. They spoke freely about hegemony policies, confident that the primitive humans posed no threat. What she learned made her blood run cold. The integration process is quite simple, explained Dr. Vexani, the station's chief xenobiologist. We evaluate each species for their most useful traits. Humans appear to be excellent manual laborers with good endurance. Manual laborers? Dr. So Young asked innocently. Oh yes. Your people will be much happier once we relocate them to our industrial worlds. No more worries about governance or complex decisions. The hegemony will handle all of that. And our leaders? Dr. Vexani waved dismissively. A few might be kept for transition purposes, but primitive leadership rarely adapts well to civilized standards. It is kinder to retire them and let professionals take over. Dr. So Young nodded thoughtfully while inside she felt sick. The aliens were talking about enslaving humanity and murdering anyone who might resist. They discussed it as casually as planning a dinner menu. Lieutenant Boram had found her way to the station's communication center. Her primitive equipment was actually far more advanced than anything the aliens possessed, but she kept it hidden while pretending to be fascinated by their technology. Your quantum communication array is so sophisticated, she told the alien technician. Could you show me how it works? The alien was happy to explain, never suspecting that Boram was using the demonstration to hack into their entire network. Within hours, she had access to communications across the galaxy. What she found confirmed their worst fears. The hegemony had conquered over 200 worlds using the same pattern. Invite the new species for cultural exchange, demonstrate overwhelming superiority, demand submission, and crush any resistance. It had worked every time for thousands of years. But the communications also revealed something else. The aliens were genuinely impressed by humanity's advanced mining ship. Several military analysts had filed reports expressing concern about human technological development. They achieved fusion power much faster than predicted, one report stated. Their vessel design shows sophistication beyond expected parameters. Recommend increased surveillance of Earth system. Boram smiled as she read this. The aliens were starting to worry, but they had no idea how much they should be worried. Meanwhile, Captain Hyunwoo was being shown the station's greatest treasure, the central control room for the Stellar Devastator. The massive weapon was capable of igniting a planet's core, turning entire worlds into stars. This is our greatest achievement, High Chancellor Mordak said proudly. With this device, we can reshape solar systems to suit our needs. No planet can resist when they know what we are capable of. Have you ever had to use it? Captain Hyunwoo asked with apparent nervousness. Twice, Mordak replied coldly. Both times, the results convinced neighboring systems to join us voluntarily. It is amazing how reasonable people become when they understand the consequences of refusal. Captain Hyunwoo stared at the weapon controls with what looked like fear, but was actually intense interest. He was memorizing every detail, noting weak points and calculating how quickly his own weapons could neutralize the threat. Tomorrow, we will give you a demonstration, Mordak continued. There is a lifeless world in the outer system that will serve perfectly. After you see what we can do, I am sure Earth will be eager to accept our generous offer of membership. Generous offer? Complete integration into our civilization. Your people will never want for anything again. Food, shelter, purpose, all provided by the hegemony. In exchange, you simply need to follow our guidance and contribute your labor to our great enterprise. Captain Hyunwoo bowed his head, as if overwhelmed by the alien's generosity. We are not worthy of such kindness. Nonsense, Mordak laughed. Every species feels that way at first. You will learn to appreciate the benefits of hegemony membership. As the day ended, the human delegation was escorted to luxurious guest quarters. The aliens were pleased with how well the first day had gone. The humans seemed properly awed and grateful, exactly as expected. But in the privacy of their rooms, the humans had a very different conversation. Each person reported what they had learned and observed. The picture that emerged was clear. The hegemony saw humanity as their next conquest, and they planned to celebrate by demonstrating their planet-killing weapon. They want to show us their super laser tomorrow, Captain Hyunwoo told his senior officers, to make sure we understand how helpless we are. The quantum charges are in place, Engineer Jiho reported. When we activate them, this entire station will tear itself apart. My Marines are ready, Colonel Dong-hyun added. We can take control of critical systems within minutes. Dr. So Young looked grim. There is no chance for peaceful coexistence. They see us as animals to be domesticated. The only choice is to fight or be enslaved. Lieutenant Boram nodded. I have confirmed intelligence on their entire fleet disposition. When we strike, we can coordinate the attack for maximum effectiveness. Captain Hyunwoo stood and looked out at the alien fleet surrounding them. Tomorrow, they would witness the hegemony's ultimate weapon, but they would also show the aliens something they had never seen before. Humans who refused to bow down. The trap was almost ready to spring. High Chancellor Mordak stood on the command deck of his flagship, watching the human vessel approach through the viewing screen. The primitive craft was larger than expected, but it still looked like a crude cargo hauler compared to the elegant ships of the hegemony fleet. Scan their vessel, he ordered his subordinates. I want to know what weapons they carry. Scanner readings show mining equipment and basic fusion engines, reported the tactical officer. No military weapons detected. Hull appears to be standard commercial grade. Mordak smiled with satisfaction. The humans were exactly what intelligence reports had indicated. A young species barely capable of interplanetary travel. Certainly no threat to the mighty hegemony. Around Nexus Prime, 200 hegemony warships waited in formation. Each ship could destroy a city with a single shot. Together, they represented enough firepower to sterilize planets. The human ship flying toward them was like a mouse approaching a pack of lions. Aboard the Worldbreaker, Captain Hyunwoo watched the alien fleet through his own screens. The ships were beautiful and deadly, their hulls gleaming like silver knives in the starlight. But he felt no fear. Hidden beneath his ship's disguised exterior were weapons that made the alien fleet look like toys. They are scanning us, reported Commander Haewon from her station. The false readings are holding. They see only what we want them to see. Excellent. Boram, what are you hearing from their communications? Lieutenant Boram adjusted her headset. They are very excited, Captain. They keep talking about how impressed they are with our advanced mining vessel. One officer said we have exceeded their expectations of primitive technology. Dr. So Young looked up from her cultural studies. They expected us to arrive in something barely capable of spaceflight. To them, our ship represents amazing progress for such a young species. Engineer Jiho worked quietly at his station, running diagnostics on the hidden weapon systems. Every gun, every missile launcher, every quantum cascade projector showed green across the board. The Worldbreaker was ready for battle, but the aliens had no idea what lurked beneath its peaceful appearance. Sir, the communications officer called out. We are receiving a transmission from the alien flagship. Put it on screen. The alien leader appeared before them. High Chancellor Mordak was tall and elegant with smooth gray skin and large dark eyes. He wore robes that sparkled with built-in technology. When he spoke, his voice was warm but condescending. Greetings, humans of Earth, he said. I am High Chancellor Mordak of the Galactic Hegemony. We welcome you to our space and look forward to beginning your integration into our civilization. Captain Hyunwoo stood and bowed slightly. Thank you for this opportunity, Chancellor. We are honored to meet you. Your vessel is quite impressive for such a young species, Mordak continued. Much larger than we expected. You have made remarkable progress in such a short time. We have worked very hard to build the best ship we could, Hyunwoo replied, which was perfectly true. Indeed. Please proceed to Docking Station 7. We have prepared quarters for your delegation and are eager to begin the cultural exchange process. The transmission ended, and the bridge crew looked at each other. The alien's tone was friendly, but his words carried an undertone of superiority that made everyone uncomfortable. Integration into their civilization, Dr. So Young repeated quietly. Not joining as equals. Integration, like we are resources to be absorbed. Lieutenant Boram nodded. The chatter from their fleet confirms it. They are already discussing how to divide up Earth's resources and where to relocate our population for labor projects. Captain Hyunwoo's jaw tightened. Then we know where we stand. Haewon, are our Marines ready? Commander Haewon smiled coldly. Colonel Dong-hyun has briefed his teams. They are dressed as maintenance crew and security personnel. The aliens will not suspect until it is too late. As the Worldbreaker approached the massive space station orbiting Nexus Prime, the crew could see the scope of alien civilization. The station was a city in space, home to millions of beings from dozens of conquered worlds. Ships came and went constantly, carrying goods and people across the galaxy. Look at all those different species, Dr. So Young said sadly. How many worlds have they conquered? According to intercepted communications, over 200, Boram answered. All of them absorbed into the hegemony through superior technology and overwhelming force. Engineer Jiho checked his systems one more time. The quantum charges were ready for deployment. Once activated, they would tear the station apart from the inside. But first they needed to get close to the aliens' leadership. Docking procedures initiated, reported the pilot. Station control is guiding us in. Through the viewports they could see alien dock workers preparing to receive them. The creatures looked excited, chattering among themselves as they pointed at the human ship. To them this was a historic moment, the arrival of a new species to be conquered and enslaved. Remember, Captain Hyunwoo addressed his crew over the internal communication system. We are simple miners and diplomats from a primitive world. Act impressed by their technology. Act grateful for their attention. Let them think we are weak and harmless. The world breaker settled into its docking berth with a gentle thud. Outside, alien officials gathered to welcome the humans. They wore ceremonial robes and carried devices that glowed with advanced technology. Everything was designed to impress and intimidate the new arrivals. Sir, Commander Haewon said quietly, once we are inside their station, there will be no turning back. If this goes wrong, we will be trapped in the heart of enemy territory. Captain Hyunwoo stood and straightened his simple civilian clothes. Like the rest of the crew, he was dressed to look like a harmless civilian rather than a military officer. Then we had better not let it go wrong, he said. Remember, they think we are cattle. Let them keep thinking that until we are ready to show them the truth. Dr. So Young gathered her diplomatic materials. Colonel Donghyun's Marines prepared their hidden weapons. Engineer Jiho made final preparations for the quantum charges that would soon be planted throughout the station. The airlock opened, and the humans stepped into alien territory. High Chancellor Mordek waited for them with a warm smile and cold eyes. Behind him stood the representatives of a galactic empire that had never met serious resistance. Welcome to Nexus Prime, the Chancellor said. We are so pleased you could make this journey. Please allow us to show you the wonders of our civilization. Captain Hyunwoo smiled back and played his role perfectly. We are eager to learn from such an advanced people. As the delegation moved deeper into the station, none of the aliens noticed the small devices Engineer Jiho left behind wherever he went. None of them suspected that the simple human miners were actually the deadliest warriors their galaxy had ever seen. The trap was set. Soon the hegemony would learn what happened when they mistook humanity for prey. The deep space monitors at Luna Station picked up the signal at Oro 347 hours. Captain Hyunwoo was drinking his morning coffee when Lieutenant Boram burst into his office, her face pale with excitement and fear. Sir, you need to see this, she said, placing a data pad on his desk. We got a transmission from outside the solar system. Hyunwoo set down his cup and looked at the strange symbols on the screen. The message was in perfect Korean, which made his blood run cold. How could aliens know their language? When did this come in? He asked. 15 minutes ago. The computer is still working on the translation, but it looks like an invitation. Admiral Taemin arrived at Luna Station 3 hours later. His face was grim as he read the alien message for the third time. Dr. So Young sat across from him, her hand shaking slightly as she held her own copy. They want us to send our most advanced ship, Dr. So Young said. For cultural exchange, they say. Cultural exchange, Admiral Taemin repeated with a bitter laugh. Look at how they write to us, like we are children who just learned to walk. The alien message was polite but condescending. They called humans newly space-capable and said they wanted to welcome Earth into the galactic community. They asked for Earth's finest transportation vessel to visit their capital world. They think we are primitives, Captain Hyunwoo said. The way they write about our chemical rockets and basic fusion technology. Dr. So Young leaned forward. Maybe they are just being careful. First contact is always difficult. We should respond with friendship. Friendship? Admiral Taemin stood up and walked to the window. Outside, construction crews worked on the massive ship docked at the military pier. So Young, they are not asking for friendship. They are giving orders. The ship outside was called the World Breaker, though officially it was listed as a mining vessel. Engineer Jiho had spent 5 years building it in secret. From the outside, it looked like a simple cargo hauler. Inside, it carried weapons that could crack planets. "Sir," Captain Hyunwoo said carefully, "are you suggesting we send the World Breaker?" Admiral Taemin turned back to them. "I am suggesting we give them exactly what they asked for. Our most advanced transportation craft." Dr. So-young's eyes went wide. "Taemin, that ship is not for diplomacy. It is a weapon." "Yes," the Admiral said, "and maybe that is exactly what we need." 3 days later, Captain Hyunwoo walked through the World Breaker's corridors. The ship was enormous, nearly 2 kilometers long. Most of it appeared to be cargo holds and mining equipment. Only a few people knew about the hidden weapon systems built into every section. Engineer Ji-ho met him at the bridge. The young man looked tired but excited. "All systems are ready, Captain. The quantum cascade weapons are online but hidden. The aliens will see only what we want them to see. And the crew? Hand-picked. Everyone knows this might be a one-way trip." Captain Hyunwoo nodded. The crew of 300 was the best Earth had to offer. Each person had volunteered for what might be humanity's most dangerous mission. Commander Hae-won approached them. She was the ship's tactical officer, though her official title was Mining Operations Supervisor. Her real job was to coordinate the World Breaker's devastating weapons if things went wrong. "Captain, we just received another message from the aliens," she said. "They are very excited to meet us. They have prepared a special welcome ceremony." "What kind of ceremony?" "They want to show us the power of their technology, to help us understand our new place in the galaxy." Captain Hyunwoo and Engineer Ji-ho exchanged looks. The aliens were not even trying to hide their intentions anymore. Dr. So-young joined them on the bridge. She would be leading the diplomatic team, though she was starting to understand that diplomacy might not work. "I have been studying their language patterns," she said. "The way they speak to us is the same way adults speak to small children. They think we are harmless." "Good," Captain Hyunwoo said. "Let them think that." The World Breaker launched from Luna Station the next morning. To anyone watching, it looked like an oversized mining barge heading for deep space. The ship's true capabilities were hidden behind layers of fake hull plating and disguised weapon ports. As they left Earth's solar system, Captain Hyunwoo stood on the bridge and looked back at the blue planet that was getting smaller behind them. In a few days, they would meet the aliens face to face. Humanity would either join the galactic community as equals, or they would show the galaxy what humans could do when threatened. "Course laid in for the meeting point," reported the navigator. "Speed, standard commercial cruise. We want to look harmless," Captain Hyunwoo smiled grimly. The aliens expected a primitive shuttle carrying scared humans ready to bow down to superior technology. Instead, they would meet the World Breaker and its crew of warriors disguised as miners and diplomats. Lieutenant Boram was monitoring alien communications from across the galaxy. The intercepted messages painted a clear picture. The aliens saw Earth as their newest conquest. They talked about human labor and Earth's resources like they already owned them. "Captain," she said, "I am picking up more alien chatter. They are calling us the new cattle species." The bridge went quiet. Even Dr. So-young looked angry now. "How long until we reach the meeting point?" Captain Hyunwoo asked. 72 hours, sir. Then we have 72 hours to prepare for war." Engineer Ji-ho began final weapons checks. Commander Hae-won reviewed targeting data. Dr. So-young studied alien culture and weaknesses. The crew of the World Breaker prepared for what might be humanity's first and last battle among the stars. The aliens thought they were getting a shuttle. They had no idea what was coming for them. As the World Breaker flew through the darkness between stars, its crew made ready to show the galaxy that humanity would never bow to anyone. The age of human submission was over before it could begin. In 3 days, the aliens would learn what it meant to threaten Earth. They would learn that humans were not cattle or children or primitives to be conquered. They were warriors. And they were coming.